All right, I want to welcome everybody to today's webinar, How AI is Changing Product Discovery and Merchant Strategies. My name is Riley McLaughlin, and I will be your webinar host for today. And I'm also joined by Doreed, who is the Senior SEO and Innovation Manager at WordLift, to present today's webinar. But before I pass it off to Doreed, just some quick housekeeping. Today's webinar is being recorded, so what's going to happen is tomorrow morning you'll get an email with a link to this recording and a link to the slides as well. And we are going to take questions today. So if you have any questions about the presentation, please put those in the chat, and then we will go down those questions in order. And with that, I will pass it off to Doreed.
Thanks, Harley. Thanks for having me again with Main Street Troy today. So, I'm excited to speak about this topic because, everything right now is shifting to AI. What we're going to see today is something more specific related to the product discovery and the merchant strategies. And of course, we will cover the general trend, how everything is changing, how we can adapt our websites, for all those AI and LLMs models, and which kind of optimizations or what we can expect in terms of SERP changing, the way people do searches on the web, and how it will be, the future of the search, starting from Google, but also all the other players that they are, coming to the market. Let's start first by the fact that right now we don't only have Google. Right now we have all the AI discovery, and we can see that the percentage, of the market is becoming bigger. So, for example, ChatGPT, this is something from December 2024, and we can already see that Google is about 83.54% of share of the SERP. So this is, significant because we think that the other models like LLMs, ChatGPT, everything that comes from AI search will take more percentage, in the coming months. So we need to adapt our websites, our strategies in order also to suit the needs of those LLMs models. When we, speak about LLMs, of course, we can check what Google is doing, because the first thing that that the CEO of Google has announced this year, that the focus on Google will be on the AI search and will be on Gemini. And since, the founder of Google is already speaking about this, we can understand the importance of adapting our websites for all of those models, because this will be the future of the SERP. Now, it's still like the nearest stage, as we see here, the percentage it's still small, but we will wait that this percentage will be bigger and will be rising quickly, and we need to adapt, our websites in order to get more traffic from those models. And it's clear, Google is going in this direction, because if the founder is saying that, looks, we need to adapt for the AI, for Gemini, that means even Google, will be shifting for this. And in order to do this, the first thing we need to think about is how we can restructure the data that we have on our website. So we can say that we will be shifting from the classic way of seeing a website, pages and content on each piece, by dealing with the websites like a whole bulk of data, where we have everything inside it, within its text, its media, its video, everything we have in this big data source, which is the websites. And what we need to do is structuring the data that we have in order to make it more accessible for those LLM models. And this will be our main topic today. So let's take a look first on what we have on the Google side, which is the missing model, which is, was very trending in the last year, because this is, where we are. And where we are shifting, because right now the AI models, if we take Copilot, it's much more faster. And what's happening that people right now, they are finding informations in more easy way. So they don't have to spend a lot of time of searching, trying to find information. They can go to any LLM models. And if I take like 1 hour in order to find specific information in the past by going to the different websites and trying to look to them page by page in order to get what I need, now I can, ask the same question to any models, ChatGPT, Copilot, anything, and I can get it much more faster. So this is the way how search is moving, and we need to adapt, for this way. Everything is changing quickly. The most interesting thing in this case is how I can refine my content in order to adapt it for the conversational queries, or how I can give my content another dimension in order to make these models understand better what we have inside our website. This is very interesting chart that we take from our websites in order to understand how many clicks we are receiving from queries that is longer than 8 words. Why this is important? Because right now, as we have the new models, as people use it to ask a longer question, maybe on ChatGPT, or trying to get a very specific thing, they are starting typing more long keywords inside the SERP. And this is something that we can see directly inside Google Search Console. And this will be the trend. So queries will be longer. And what we can see here, this is another interesting chart, that the traffic that is arriving from a platform like LLMs, from Copilot, and also from ChatGPT is also increasing. So this is also, from our website that show that we have more traffic that is arriving from those models. So more conversational queries and more traffic, arriving from those models. And in a very simple way, people won't answer, they don't want to visit any website. So this will be, I like this slide because it can say everything. People don't want to waste time, on reading long articles in order to arrive at their needs. They only need the answers. So if we are able to make our website, able to give answers for those models, that means we can get the right users or the qualified traffic that we need on our site. Here I'm giving a quick example from ChatGPT related to the search of a product. So what I was trying to do here on ChatGPT is trying to find a product. For example, here I'm asking ChatGPT, give me a suggestion for a pair of running shoes in the price range between 20 and 60, along with their feature and reviews. And we can see that maybe in the past, in order to a search like this, I can spend maybe 10 minutes in order to see what exactly I need. But right now, like with one search in ChatGPT, already the LLMs is doing the hard work for us, and it's giving us all the information. Then we can use the same ChatGPT, for example, for the informational side. So if like I'm still new to running and I'm asking, what do you think are the best shoes to choose? Can you give me some recommendations? And we can see also in this situation, ChatGPT can give us some answers, but also they can go further and they can also classify the results that we have in different categories, and they can also give a purchase link for each one of those searches in addition to the price range. So imagine making the same thing like some months ago. It was impossible, and this is exactly what we need to think about. The question will be, is my website is having a very qualified data that those models can understand in order to get that user that I need on my website? So we will be shifting it from thinking about the volumes to think about more the user intent itself. And the mission will be is getting maybe less volume, but qualified traffic that we need in order to convert, because this will be the future of the SERP. This is also another chart that show, for example, if I want to buy a specific product, in this case, I'm searching exactly for the product that I need in this case. And I'm asking the model, can you give me the different prices and those they have maybe a discount or a deal for this very specific model? And we can see that in the same chart that ChatGPT was able to bring all the pages. So they are giving me like the Nike official store, and they tell me, looks, you have a 30% discount. They also are mentioning all the other websites, each one with the price and also the percentage of the discount that they have, and also the size. So everything we have it, I mean, inside the same chart. So this will be kind of the future of the SERP, and this is what we need to adapt our websites in order, I mean, to have it. This is also another interesting slide because it shows the statistics according to Statistica here, and they are telling us that your next client will be an AI agent, and by 2027, the AI-driven recommendations are projected to guide over 1 trillion in annual global e-commerce purchase. This is, I mean, big, because what we need to start thinking about is how we can optimize our websites for those agents, how these agents can get all the data that we need, because as we see here in this example that everything has been done by ChatGPT agent, the same thing, I mean, will be increasing, and we need to think how we can adapt our websites for this kind of optimization. So in order to do this, of course, we need to understand the future of the SERP that will be dialogable one, personalized, and AI mediated. So what we need to care about is organizing our websites for this AI revolution, and try to focus on the things that matter in this case. So the AI, of course, it's a data-dependent technology. So more qualified data we have, the better will be, because this will allow our websites to be more, I mean, optimized for these models. And after, we need to think about LLMs and Googles in the same time. And as a digital marketers, what we need to do is focusing on how we can feed these data pipelines. So we can go like through different steps. First, I mean, starting with the data, which is in this case, I mean, the raw data is collected from various sources. Then it can be processed, and once we have this data, we can arrive to the second step, which is the knowledge that can allow the LLMs to understand and generate the language. And finally, we can move to the actions. And of course, each one of those models, like, I mean, if we have ChatGPT, or if we have Copilot, or if we have any other models, each one of those models needs a specific kind of data. So the goal is to have like a scalable, multi-purposes, and validated data that we can use in this case, because finally, the content that we have on the website is data. So what we need to think about how we can reorganize it in order to get the best of the content that we have on our site. Of course, one thing we always speak about is the semantic understanding of the data that we have in our websites. And one cool thing to do this is building the structured data. So, for example, when schema.org started in some years ago, I believe in 2011, started the schema.org. It was like a kind of the first step going through organized web, using the structured data. So now, I mean, the structured data is something done for everyone, because for each page that I have on the website, I can add the structured data. What we need to do with AI, it's more advanced step that needs to be taken, because we will be moving from only having structured data to creating a kind of knowledge graph, which contains all the information that we have inside our website, which is cool because, I mean, using the structured data, at least we can explain the relationships between the pages and the entities that we have inside the pages. And this is something cool even for the AI models, because AI models needs data. So the OpenAI founder tell us that AI models need JSON, for example. They need to understand the relationships between the different pages, the relationship between different components that we have inside the websites. What we are going to do is, first of all, having the structured data in place, building this knowledge graph, and then understand the ontologies, which is something we are going to discuss after inside these presentations, in order to have everything prepared for the AI agents. So our goal will be focusing on how I can get everything optimized for AI agents that crawl my websites and after show the results of my websites inside the different LLMs models. So in order to do this, one thing becomes much more important is the brand reputation. So focusing on branding, because right now LLMs and Google trust websites where we have a better brand reputation. The reason it's quite clear because right now, as everything can be created with AI, I mean, I can right now in just a few seconds create a lot of articles and publish them inside my websites. And all people is doing this in this way. So if I want to stand out or if I want to differentiate myself from all people who are creating content using AI, I need to focus on my brand. This is something will be much more important in the future. Then, of course, the quality of my product or services, because finally the automation and the content generation will be big. So who have the best products or services will win. And of course, the user opinion on the brand. So a lot of focus on the branding, on the reputations, on everything that is out of the content itself, because this will be very important. Then when it comes to the content, we need also to start thinking about how I can reorganize my content to give it this dimension that doesn't have right now. So how can I make it more qualified and how I can define the relationships between the different components that I have within my content. Let's start first with how to build the brand authority, for example. In this case, of course, we believe that anything that we do will be built, I mean, on the human expertise. Even like we have a lot of AI tools right now, if we want to make the difference, it will start with the best expertise that we have. So in order to have like a successful transformation through AI, first, the human approach will be in the middle. And after, we need to have the data and AI governance. And after, we can do the upscaling. Why we speak about the human in the middle? Because first thing first, organizing the data will be crucial. I mean, for example, imagine that I have my websites and I want to create this knowledge graph in the middle that can feed all the models that I have around. So let's say that I have an e-commerce. First thing I can have is a vocabulary. So having the product markup, the homepage markup, the about page markup, everything that can be at the structured data level and can describe my websites in more accurate way, so Google can understand better and LLMs can understand it better. Then the second step will be having a clear ontology. So how I can reorganize this data within an ontology that can allow me to build this knowledge graph with very specific rules for each piece of information that I have inside my websites. Once I arrive for this like state of art, this knowledge graph that contains all the data, I mean, well organized, then I can use this data, for example, to feed the agents. I can use the data in order to build the product description, industry specific text, semantic data. And don't worry right now, I mean, if I'm so much technical, because we're going to explain how this works in some practical examples. So this is, I mean, first example, starting with the structured data. When we have an e-commerce, for example, and we are adding the schema markup for the products, this is already a big step forward, because we are already structuring the product data in this form that the search engine can consume, and also the LLMs. When we have the structured data, for example, and we are curating it, we have much more attributes that can define the kind of the product that we have. Let me give an example. When we start working on different websites, one of the properties that they miss, the audience. And we know that if I'm able to add the audience as a property, it's a schema property, it can be added to my websites. I already can give the search engine very clear indications about, looks, this product is for male, for female, for this age group, for kids, for, I don't know, for adults. A lot of information can be added in this case. If I'm adding the GTI in, I can let the search engine understand what is the global identifier of my product. If I don't have this piece of information, I add it, then Google will understanding, LLMs can understand it, and they can add the same information to their knowledge graphs. We can add information like the models, the size. All this information can be added on the structured data level. Then, I mean, I can use it after in order to build an ontology, or in order to build like a content model. Here also we have another examples where we are adding different properties on another e-commerce product. And this is also an interesting experiment that we started, where we always started from the structured data. Okay, so we build, for example, the product markup. In that case, we start building our knowledge graph that contains all the data that we have. Then we decided to use the data in order to create a new ChatGPT model that can allow to give recommendations based on the e-commerce that we have in this site. We call it AI Sommelier, and it's a kind of a bot that when you ask it about having information, because in this case we have an e-commerce, an Italian e-commerce that have, I mean, products all related to wine. And after building the ChatGPT model, in this case, it's called AI Sommelier, and we asked this model about, can you suggest a white wine to pair with the salmon fish, for example? It was able to give me a very long and detailed answer. Why? Because the data that we built this bot is based on the e-commerce website itself. So what we did is bring in Google Motion Center that we have, we build the product markup, we bring the data that we have in the markup to train this model. Then we create this ChatGPT model, which is something anyone can access and ask this model, I mean, about the different information. And we can see that the data that they are giving is much more accurate than the model, the general model. So this is the generic model. If we ask the same question, it gives us like a very small answer. And this is the model that has been trained with the data of the e-commerce that we have, and it's completely giving another answer. This is very important because this is exactly the way how we can optimize our websites in order to get more qualified traffic. Because what ChatGPT is able to understand is the same thing that the LLMs and the AI agent is able to understand. So the mission will be about how I can reorganize my data, giving more structured data of my websites in order to get results like this. This will be exactly the kind of optimization we will be doing in the future, because this will become more important, and then I can build everything around it. In this example, we see a product description. Using the same method, building structured data behind, build a knowledge graph, we can do translation for another languages, for example, and it's super accurate. Why? Because in the way that we are making the translations, we are using the knowledge graph. We are using all the data that we have behind. It can give very accurate results, and much better than the one that we use if we use like a service like Google Translation or even ChatGPT Translator itself, because this data has been trained with some models that we have behind inside the knowledge graph. So this is one thing. The other thing will be how we move also outside of the classic SEO. So here, for example, we have very interesting thing related to the GS1 vocabulary. And as we know, we have schema.org, but we have also the GS1 vocabulary. The GS1 vocabulary is always an extension by schema.org, but it's much more accurate, and it have a lot of properties, because only for the products, I believe we have around 3,000 properties, and we can describe our product using this vocabulary in order to give more accurate data for the search engines and for the LLMs. In this case, we started this experiment using WordLift Resolver. So it's a product by WordLift, and what it do is bringing the data that we have for a specific product, enrich it, adding more properties which are not the standard, and after give this product properties to the search engines and to the LLMs models itself. And what they can do is seeing it, understanding all the data that you have behind. So imagine that on the front end of the website, nothing will be changing. So everything will stay the same, but the amount of data that can be injected to a page will be endless, okay? Because we can add, for example, all schema properties that we have, but we can also add everything related to the GS1, which is like a more detailed vocabulary with like more than 300 properties that can be added. So we can identify our product and give a specification that we don't have like on in a similar situations. This is exactly how it works. So we can see how the GS1 works, the protocol, the resolver of the domain, the GTIN, the product GTIN, and those are standards that has been used for e-commerce all the time. So if we are able to bring this information, this will make everything more clear, not only for Google and LLMs models, and even for people who work, for example, in import and export of the products, because with one links, we can give a lot of information for Google, but also all the other models. And this is super important. We are running this experiment, for example, here on Arnet, which is a brand of Essilor Exotica. And Google also, I mean, is curious to see also the results of these experiments, because it's new and it can bring a lot of data that we don't have like in the standard schema product markup situation. So this is an example for the GS1 link. We can see it's a mix between schema.org and also the GS1 properties. And in this way, we are enriching the way how we can introduce our products to the search engine and all the LLMs models by adding a lot of additional data that we have inside the GS1 link. One another situations which is that comes with a new feature that Google introduced, which is the supplementary feed. This is, I mean, super important in Google Merchant Center, because since we have this new extension, it will open a lot of opportunities for us, since we can enrich the data ourselves. How this feature works, or how we can use the supplementary feeds in order to enrich the data inside Google Merchant Center. Basically, it's something I believe it started some months ago with Merchant Next, more or less 7 or 8 months ago, and it will allow us to write directly to Google Merchant Center using a supplementary feed. So imagine that you have some data inside your PIM and inside your product information management system, but you don't have it in Google Merchant Center. So you need to make a use of this data, because as we said before, more accurate data I can bring inside my Google Merchant Center and inside my structured data, building my knowledge graph, the better is, because now it's all about data. It's all about how I can have super structured data that those models can consume. And using this feed is super important, because, for example, here, I'm taking a product from Ray-Ban, and what we can do in this case, I mean, imagine that you have a CDN where you have all the images, but you don't have all these images inside Google Merchant Center, for example. What can be done is bringing the data from the CDN, from anywhere where you have the data. It could be a CSV, it could be a database, anything, using a supplementary feed extension by Google Merchant Center and inject the data inside Google Merchant Center. How this can impact on the SERP in this case, it will show, for example, in this case, more images that are scrolling that we don't have, for example, in case we have only one image inside Google Merchant Center. So enriching the data in this case will reflect on the click-through rate, will give the e-commerce more opportunities to rank in different SERPs, and also will give a better user experience for people who use Google Shopping, and this will be, of course, beneficial to my website as well. The same things it could apply in the case of if we are using the product highlights and product details. And here, let me back to this slide here, because this is the state of art. So our goal is to have like this centralized knowledge graph where we can do everything that we need in terms of training our AI models, training our ChatGPT, for example, that we need to build, because as we see before, the generic one, it's not interesting. We need to build our AI model. So if I am creating content with AI, it's not super interesting because everyone is creating content with AI. I need to create content with AI, but this content should be trained with the data that I have inside my websites, the data that I have inside my knowledge graph. Once I have this data, I can go forward. This data can come from different sources, of course. It can come from the PIM data. It can come from the Google Merchant Center itself. It can come from the reviews or third parties. I need to bring all this data in the middle, and after I can use it, and after distribute it again. So I can use it, for example, for ad copies. I can use it for social media platform. I can use it for everything that I need. But of course, it should be fine-tuned and it should be cut to my needs and trained with the data that I have inside my website. That's it. I mean, this is the key for success. Training the data with training the models with your data, then scale it. Here in the case of the product highlights, I'm bringing as an example, we can bring the description for the product that we have, and after we can produce this, for example, these different highlights that can show exactly why the product could be useful in some cases. Okay, so it's a kind of positive notes about the products. It's super important because enriching this data inside Google Merchant Center will add a lot of value of for the products that I have, and also it's available data that the search engine can use, Google can use it, and also the LLMs can use it in order to have more qualified traffic. So in this case, it's about increasing visibility, having more Google features, having a better audience targeting, because the game is very simple. More qualified data I can have inside my website, inside my Google Merchant Center, Microsoft Merchant Center, anything, will be better because those algorithms will consume the data, and after they can bring me more qualified traffic, and of course finally we were going to get a better conversion rates. Moving to another experiment, which is the product details. In this case, very nice addition, because the product details is one of the properties that can be used a lot, especially in e-commerce, in order to have non-standard attributes. So why Google started with this attributes, the product details? For very simple reason. As we see here, I mean, let's take a look on the slide that can explain it in very clear way. If we have properties like the type of the frame, here we have sunglasses, for example. We know that the standard scale markup can have properties like the GTIN, the image, the title, but they cannot go beyond to give a specific property for each product we have, okay? Because I mean, we have thousands of products, and each product have a very different properties, and also they have very different features. So in order to handle those non-standard properties, Google has introduced the product details, which one of my favorite properties. And using the product details, for example, I can tell the search engines or the LLM models that looks, I have a products, and inside the products I have different properties like the front color finish, for example, or the temple material, or the temple color, or the model fit, or the face shape. All of this information can be used using the product details and the supplementary feed, and can be injected inside Google Merchant Center. And if we take a look on Google SERP itself, we see that Google is using these properties in order to classify the data. And this is very important because we know that at this point, people will use it because Google will not show something that people doesn't use. And inside Google Shopping, we see, for example, here, the filters based on the frame type or the lens color, or the lens width, for example, which are non-standard properties. So schema markup, for example, doesn't cover them. In this case, we can use the product details and push this data. And this is exactly the kind of optimization we need to do, because all the other models, not only Google, the LLMs will use this data. And when people do a very long query, for example, if I'm searching on ChatGPT for a very specific properties, like I want sunglasses for a specific face shape, and I'm giving this information in that case for Google or for LLMs, then Google and LLMs will bring my websites and show it first. Why? Because they have the confidence that I have this piece of information of data, and I'm already submitting those information for those models for Google Merchant Center or LLM models. And this is super important. Moving forward, we also, I mean, as we speak before about the product reviews, this becomes much more important, as we said, because brand reputation in this case becomes super important. If we have the reviews on Trustpilot, on any other platform, Google has also introduced this new feature inside Google Merchant Center, and this is super important. Why? Because Google needs data. So we can see that Google right now is accepting the data from all these aggregators. In this case, if I bring Trustpilot, I can also using the supplementary feed to export the data from my platform directly to Google Merchant Center. And Google will start using this data in order to show my products with the reviews inside the SERP. So this is, I mean, super important. And now it's integrating with the APIs just to explain the idea that Google need information, LLMs need information, ChatGPT need information, Copilot information. Any models need more information, and this will be the game in the next few months, having more qualified data and information on our websites in a structured data way. Of course, one other things becomes much more important is the Microsoft Merchant Center. So we for years we work with Google Merchant Center. Now Microsoft Merchant Center becomes more important because we know that from Microsoft, the other models like ChatGPT and Copilot can take information. And since Bing, I mean, becoming more important because we have this collaboration, this partnership between OpenAI and Bing, optimizing for Bing right now, it's super important. Starting a Microsoft Merchant Center also is becoming more important. Is not right now it's important as having Google Merchant Center. We need to have both in order also to give better opportunities for our e-commerce in order to rank for ChatGPT, for Copilot, for any products with AI comes from Microsoft itself. And yeah, this was, I mean, everything about our presentation today, about our webinar. We have right now, I mean, a space for any question.
All right, thanks so much, Dorit. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, please put those in the chat now, and we will answer questions at this time. Yeah, it's really amazing the shift that we're seeing in terms of how people are finding information, about products and services they're interested in. Just in the past, I think ever since ChatGPT came out, I've always kind of turned to that first, sometimes before Google, because like you said, I don't want to visit website after website. I just want to. Ideally, the way that these systems work is you just pose a question, and you get a simple answer. And we're seeing, I think a drop in website visitors as a result. People are turning to these models to get their questions answered because it's easier. You know, so it's really just a
Exactly.
matter of are we providing these models with all of the information that they have to to serve our business in those results.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, things are moving very quickly, and we have big challenges. I mean, adapting for all this change is challenging, not easy, because everything is moving very, very, very fast. So I believe what can be done in this case is trying to find our target. So everything will be about optimizing for the user intent. Search volumes maybe right now doesn't have big importance. I mean, it's still having, I mean, importance right now because Google is still have 83% of the market. But since we are going forward and people tends to be lazy, no one wants to spend like 5 or 10 minutes in order to find information. Anyone, I mean, wants to get the information directly. So the game will be how I can optimize my websites for that user intent that I need, how I can build my content strategy in order to satisfy exactly that need. So it will not be about being generic, it will be about being very, very specified and answering these long conversational queries.
Right.
Yeah. The other things, which is, I mean, very important is I can create content with AI. Everyone, I mean, now is creating content with AI. So the content future will be AI. Right now, they can write, I mean, very and in a great way. I mean, better than humans. But the question will be how I can train these models based on my expertise. I mean, a human should be in the middle because I can guide those AI models in order to build the content, but the content should be based on my needs because I know the business and I need to train these models in order to satisfy my clients' needs. Not, I mean, getting anything generic as we see. I mean, in the wine example. I mean, we see that ChatGPT is giving an answer, but when we create our ChatGPT that has been trained on our data, it was giving a completely different answer. And this is exactly what we need to do in terms of optimization on our websites. We need that LLMs understand each piece of information that we have and also each small details related to a product or a service that we have. And this way we can make the difference.
Right. Yeah, because if everyone's doing the same thing, then it's no longer an advantage. This is a zero sum situation. So, everybody's getting the same, they're getting the same outputs from these models unless they do something differently with the inputs.
Exactly.
We got a question from Doug. Do you foresee advertising on these AI models like there is on Google?
Yeah.
I think yeah, at some point they're going to monetize it in that way. Doug, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to look. What do you think, Dorit?
Yeah, I mean, we still don't know how it will look, but one thing we are sure about that when it comes to optimization like Google Merchant Center optimization, okay? In fact, when we are doing it, we are not doing it only for organic. We are doing it even for advertising. The idea is even if we get some advertisement there, the game is the same because it's how I can adapt my websites to let even the ads algorithm to understand what data I have in that case. So I believe everything that you can start doing will not be beneficial for organic, but will be even for advertisement because finally, I mean, the algorithm will be similar. The only thing will change that we need to put money, I mean, over it in order to have more traffic. But already now, I mean, even if we don't have ads inside those AI quick answers, for example, we can already improve the data with AI, like, for example, adding the product details or the product highlights as we see before, and use it on our advantage, even from the ads results, because finally, if I have more qualified data, even the ads algorithm will benefit from it and will use it for their advantage. So I will have less cost to have, I mean, better user targeting, better audience targeting, and get advantage from the data that I have.
Right. Cool. So what is the next step then? Someone who's watching and they're interested in kind of taking the next step forward to, provide more information to these models, to Google, what should they
Yeah.
do?
I mean, one thing I advise you to do is to join our community because we have a lot of, a lot of new features, tools. For example, on our side, we have an agent that calls WordLeaf agents, and basically what we do is bringing our client's data, for example, and put it inside a knowledge graph, then let ChatGPT using it, for example, in order to have a better answer. So this is something, you can see. Other things, you can also understand how I can optimize my website for LLMs. For example, we have another nice tool I advise you to check that create the LLMs.txt, which is something similar to the robots.txt, but has been done to tell the agent, looks, go and check this file, and this will guide the LLMs models exactly as the robots.txt guided. This is also, a free tool. You can test it. You can check how it works, and you can after verify how frequently the LLM models, the ChatGPT bot or any other AI bot is crawling the website. So a lot is going on, in these directions. Of course, everything is moving quickly. So today maybe I can speak about 2 or 3 agents. Tomorrow we will have more because things are moving so fast. But for example, those are 2 nice tools that you can check. I would advise you to join our community and check those 2 tools, especially the LLMs.txt model, because it's quite interesting and very easy to implement on the website.
Right. Cool. So it looks like you've got the QR code. So if that sounds good, if you want to check out the community, try out these free tools, go ahead and scan that code and try it out. And I'm
Cool.
not seeing any other questions, so I think we can close and give everyone their 13 minutes back. Dorit, thank you so much for the presentation today. This is a really pertinent topic, something that we really need to be focusing on because we are seeing a huge shift. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty, thanks everyone. See you on the next webinar. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.